Hi there. Welcome. You're watching Blueprint Explosive Exclusive, and I'm Meghna Rekha. This is the end of a bloody trail and the beginning of an era void of the shadow of red terror. After 29 years, the gun of Madvi Hidma has been silenced. The most dreaded Maoist commander of South Chhattisgarh's core naxal corridor. Finally, the Darba Sukma Kontai red axis has been crushed. 29 years in the dense forests, he lived almost like a shadow. There were no recent photographs of Hidma and no credible intelligence to guide the forces to him. He had a 5-tier security. Many said his security was tighter than even the police commissioners in this state. He had a 5-tier security and he had trained commandos who were protecting him 24/7. His security ring warned him of every advancing danger, and a solid information network protected this Naxal commando from every trap which was laid by the security forces in the past. After decades, the forces managed to track down the elusive Maoist and his battalion Hidma, the most lethal strike unit of Red Terror. But as the anti-Maoist offensive pushed the rebels onto the back foot, forced many of them to surrender, Hidma and his 5 others comrades, they came in the crosshairs of the forces and died in an encounter at a forest area near the tri-junction of Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and Telangana. Incidentally, just last week, Hidma's mother had appealed to him to surrender. She said, "What did we get? Blood, loss, loneliness? Come home, son. Work, earn, and live amongst your people." He didn't heed her plea. Today, we are going to tell you about the making of a rebel in the red axis of Chhattisgarh and how the Osama of Maoist terror, as he was called, Madvi Hidma, lived by the gun and died by the gun. Let's first tell you about his reign of terror. Madvi Hidma's reign of terror was such when, remember, he was born. He was born in a very impoverished place of Sukma in Chhattisgarh in the year 1981. He became the head of the deadliest strike unit of the Maoists, the PLGA. He was a member of the Danda Karanya Special Zonal Committee as well. He was the only tribal leader of Maoists, the only tribal commander from Bastar who was part of the Central Committee, which was the highest decision-making committee of the Maoists. He was also the most wanted naxal. He was on NIA's most wanted list. He was the mastermind of 26 armed attacks on civilians, on politicians and security forces. He carried a bounty of 1 crore rupees on his head. So let's tell you, how did the Osama of Maoist remain hidden? And why was it so difficult for the forces to track him down? Let's tell you how the man who was said to have more security than the police commissioner, how was he finally trapped? Hidma had a 3-5-layer security ring around him at any given point in time. And this security ring was very, very tight. It had armed commandos who were part of the core team. There were no recent photographs which were available of Hidma that the forces could use to try and track him down. There was no credible intelligence which was available to them to guide the police to his whereabouts. He didn't visit any villages. He didn't visit any gatherings. There were informers of Hidma who warned Hidma and his battalion, the Hidma battalion as it was called, of every movement of the forces, helping him to evade. But the trail of terror of Madvi Hidma is a bloodied one. He has led about 26 lethal armed attacks for more than a decade, which have also killed hundreds across states, mind you. Remember the 2010 Dantewada massacre? 76 paramilitary personnel were killed in this attack. Hidma was part of it. The 2011 Matla attack. This too killed 75 CRPF men in this bloody trip. Remember the 2013 Jiram Ghati ambush. Here, he and his comrades killed 32 people, and this included the entire leadership of the Congress party in the area as well. Then came the 2017 twin attack, which happened in Sukma. Sukma, the very area, the very village where he was born, in that same area where 37 security personnel were massacred. Again in Sukma, 2021, in Bijapur ambush, which had happened, here 22 security personnel were killed. And remember, Hidma was part of either the planning or execution of all these deadly naxal strikes that we have seen in the past. The reign of his terror was spread across 4 states, and especially in Darbar Sukma Kontai, red axis. This is the red axis that we are talking about. You can see that on your screens as well, which is one of the strongest Maoist strongholds where security forces took years, if not decades, to slowly chip it down. Look at the areas where he was operating. It is across Chhattisgarh, in Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh. Those were the areas where Hidma was successfully carrying out bloody attacks against innocents and against the security forces. But the area that you can see in the middle, that is the area, the Darbar Sukma Kontai red axis. This is the core Maoist bastion. And at the end of it was none other than Hidma, Madvi Hidma. His elimination has been a blow to the Maoist movement in India across, as well as it significantly disrupts Maoist logistics, their recruitment patterns, as well in this specific red axis. Let's tell you why. Because this is the crushing of the Darbar Sukma Kontai red axis with the end of Hidma. No leader of Hidma's stature is present anymore in these areas anymore. They have lost a highly trained commander, but Hidma, remember, was the only one who could mobilize large cadres the way he could. No one else can. He has been killed, and now that makes it harder for the Maoist troops to coordinate multi-district attacks, which Hidma himself was coordinating. It also disrupts the logistics of the naxal ops, and this disrupts the naxal recruitment patterns as well. But how did Madvi Hidma become the notorious Maoist, the Osama of the Maoist terror that we know him today? Let's take a look at the villain story. Let's take a look at the making of a rebel. He studied till class 10. After that, he left study, joined the Maoist ranks. Well, the story is that he was drawn to Maoist when these Maoist cadres, these rebel cadres, came to his village in Sukma and built a pond. He pawned there to help locals. Apparently, he was so inspired that he got drawn into the rebel cadres. By 2 more years, he started leading battalions of the People's Liberation Guerrilla Army. He became the youngest member of the Central Committee, which is the highest decision-making committee of Maoist terrorists. Now, his discipline, however, is what really catapulted him to the top of the ranks. Hidma woke up, as per his own aides who have surrendered. They tell us that Hidma woke up at 4 a.m. every morning. He read newspaper reports because he was a voracious reader. He wanted to keep abreast with what was happening across the nation and the world. There was intense focus that he put on physical training for his battalion. Hidma used to tell his battalion that physical strength is the biggest weapon that a naxal can have to survive in the jungles and to fight guerrilla wars. The battalion Hidma, as it was called after him, was the most lethal strike unit which was available to them. That today has been crushed. The region once affected by Maoist violence is now on the path of development. The government's efforts towards reducing naxal influence have been providing and proving to be beneficial in restoring stability in previously troubled areas. Take a look at how red zones are now being reclaimed in the Darbar Sukma Kontai axis. The Chhattisgarh government in the last 2 years, along with the centre, have managed to build over 1,500 kilometers of road. 200 mobile towers have been put. They've also managed to set up schools as well as health centers. The focus has been on welfare delivery in remote areas, so that it's not just about appealing to the Maoist leaders to surrender, but also showing them an alternative life as well. In continuing against the war against Red Terror, top Maoist leaders are now neutralized one after the other across the country, those who refuse to surrender. Basavaraju, he was the supreme commander of CPIM. He had a bounty on his head as well. He was killed in Chhattisgarh. There you have it on your screens. There was Vivek Chandri Yadav, alias Prayag. He too was killed in an encounter in Jharkhand. Ramchandra Reddy, alias Chalapati, he was killed in Chhattisgarh. Kunjam Hidma was killed in Odisha. We can see how significant progress has been made in the fight against Maoist violence. The number of violent incidents in Naxal-affected regions has shown a steady decline under campaigns such as Naxal Mukt Bharat Abhiyan. But let's tell you how you have had several such instances. You've had incidents of Maoist violence which has been slowly coming down. Look at the numbers there on your screens. The number of instances of Maoist violence have come down drastically from 2014 to 2025. You can see on your screens. I'm leaving these graphics so that you can see it for yourself. This gives you a sense of just how this has been successful operation. There's even been a striking drop in the number of districts which have been affected by Naxalism. For example, districts most affected by Naxalism have gone from 126 to merely 12 today. In Chhattisgarh, the affected earlier in 2015 was 18,000 square kilometers. Now in 2024-25, it's down to 4,200 square kilometers, showing an alternative to what Naxal terror could hold for the people in these areas. Let me go across to two people who have been actively part of the anti-Naxal operations in India. P. Mishra, the former ADG of BSF, is joining us. Nirmal Kaur, former IPS officer, is also here on the show. I'll come to you first, sir. PK Mishra ji, what does it mean to kill someone like Madvi Hidma? The psychological edge which would give the forces, but also what does it mean for the hierarchy of Naxals in the area, not just Chhattisgarh, across the entire red corridor?
Just see the killing of Hidma, Madvi Hidma. It is the biggest operation, the biggest commander, the biggest leader of PLGA Battalion. He has been killed. It is a great success for the security forces, and it is the biggest blow to Naxalism and the Maoists, those who are operating everywhere. It is not only in Chhattisgarh or Telangana or Pradesh and Odisha. But the Maoists, they got the biggest blow so far in their operation from the security forces today morning. Because after Karigula Hill operation in April, which continued for 21 days and where 31 satellites were killed, this gentleman, so-called Osama of Maoist, the Hidma, was also there, and we were just telling 5-tier security was there, more than Prime Minister's security he had. He could escape from Karigula Hill. Then when Basavaraju was killed with 26 more Naxalites, he was also present, but he escaped. Many times he has escaped. See that man who had made so many attacks on security forces. 2010, let's go to Dantewada, where 76 CRPF persons were killed. Then you go to Sukma area, Sukma, Bijapur, where 20 security persons were killed, and earlier 27 were killed earlier. And then Jiram Ghati operation, Mahendra Karma and B.C. Shukla, they were killed with Congress leaders. Such a terrible commander. He was operating from Bastar area. In fact, he belongs to Sukma, and he was the only member from Bastar special zone in CMC. He was the central committee member. The worst part of it, he was the operational commander like Osama bin Laden, and he was being searched, and his information was being awaited and being looked after by all security personnel, whether it is Greyhound, whether it is Odisha police, whether it is Andhra police, whether it is Telangana police, whether it is Chhattisgarh police, all were in search of this person after Basavaraju was killed and Benugopal surrendered in Gadchiroli. But today morning when the information came, in fact, he wanted to leave Chhattisgarh, because the way the operation was going on in Chhattisgarh,
Yes.
he wanted to escape from Chhattisgarh to Andhra Pradesh, from Chhattisgarh Andhra Pradesh border, and that information got leaked out. And then, particularly in Maragoda Hill, in Aleri district of Andhra Pradesh, that is the Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, Chhattisgarh triangle, when he was escaping with his wife, Rajakka, his wife's name,
She
he
was also
escaping
killed.
with 4 more Naxalites. He was trapped and she was also killed with 4 more Naxalite leaders. 6 were killed. And
Absolutely.
the best part of it, he was escaping to Andhra Pradesh from Chhattisgarh.
He was running, as he has done all his life. Many said he lived in the shadows, in the dense forest. Nirmal Kaur. However, the way forward from here, yes, the forces are doing their job. They are cleansing those who refuse to put down the gun. But it's a two-pronged effort by the state as well as the center, isn't it? On one hand, you have the carrot, you have the stick as well. But you also have outreach. What's going to be the way forward? Yes. Would you say this is the final nail in the coffin?
I would say this is the last nail in the coffin of naxalism, because it was on its last legs anyway. The Ministry of Home Affairs, led by Shri Amit Shah, the minister, has repeatedly said in March 2026, naxalism will be over. Naxalism in India will be finished. For that, great efforts, concerted efforts have been made, security forces, lots of things, development work, state-center coordination, multi-pronged approach they have been has been going on, and it has borne fruit. And today is a very, very important milestone. I think this is the last of the bastions has fell. So it is, you can say, the Sukma area, that particular most affected area, that place you're talking about, that is now, Hidma was a terror. He's a terror, for the security forces also. He has killed so many civilians, so many security force people. And he has always been, he was never seen, no one knew what he looked like now. And he was moving under heavy security, always would stay on heights, higher ground, so that anyone coming the lower ground, his tiers were posted, tier security, layers of security, and they fought him, anybody coming. So today, was that way a very good day for security forces, and the last nail in the coffin of naxalism.
Last nail in the coffin of naxalism. Remember the words of Hidma's mother. Just last week, she appealed to him, said, give up the gun, come back and live amongst your people. What has naxalism given to you? All it gave you is blood, loss, and loneliness. Hopefully that message is heeded by those who are indulging in red terror. But more importantly, look at the way that a lot of these red zones are now being reclaimed and are moving towards a path of development, path of prosperity. Thank you so much, PK Mishra, Nirmal Kaur. Both of you, of course, have led operations, overseen operations in the Red Corridor. I appreciate you joining us with your insights on the story. Without a short break, don't go anywhere.